Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make some pattern weights for your sewing. Used for dressmaking or indeed anything where you use a pattern. Really quick and simple to make, and you've probably seen them on the Great British Sewing Bee. So we're going to get started without any delay. I'm Christine of christinescrafts.com, and this channel's all about crafting on a budget. So what are you going to need to make your pattern weights? The first thing you're going to need is the pattern template. If you go to the description below, you'll see a link to get it for free from my website. There's no charge at all, it's a downloadable PDF. Failing that, what you need is a sizable triangle. You're going to fill it with rice, and you may want to put a ribbon on the top so that you can pick your weights up very easily. You'll see I've got a little funnel just to help me get the rice in. It's not essential. And this is my fabric. You just want a nice crafting cotton, something that will just hold together, nice but not too stiff. So first of all, take your template and cut it out. As I say, it's just an equilateral triangle, so if you want you could make your own or use one from your quilting supplies. Whatever size your triangle is going to determine the size of your weight. So simply place your template onto your fabric, and you're going to cut out a piece of fabric exactly the size of the template. So it's up to you if you use clips or pins, or if you just hold it in place, or you draw around it, whatever's your normal way of working when you haven't got a pattern weight to hold it in place, and simply cut it out. If you add a seam allowance on, you're just going to end up with slightly bigger pattern weights. The size of your pattern weights is entirely up to you, it depends what you sew, but these are a nice small weight that are suitable for most patterns. You can just put more on if you need them. So carefully cut out your triangle and then remove the template. And that is the only piece of fabric you need. It's really a great way of using up those scraps you've got left over from other projects. So the first thing we're going to do is fold one corner over to one of the other corners, and that short side, that short seam, we're going to pin it and then sew it. So you've taken one point over to another, and we're going to sew only along the short side of the triangle that you've formed now. So once you've got it pinned, you can hand sew these, they are small enough, but if you've got a sewing machine, it's great to just run along. It's up to you how big you leave for your seam allowance. It'll just affect the size of your finished weight. I tend to run the foot along the edge of the fabric, so we just get a nice small seam without it being so small it can come undone. So remember to reverse at either end so that it doesn't come undone. Take it off the machine and cut your threads. In all my tutorials you'll notice that I cut my threads as I go along. I don't like them at the end. So once you've completed that seam, you need to take the other point that you've got left and bring it up to join the 2 points that you've already got. You can see I'm just pushing them up together. And now you've got 2 seams that you can sew. Now be careful, you're going to sew one of these all the way along it, but just one of them, okay? Start at the top and work your way all the way down. So again, just pop it back on your machine, or if you're hand sewing, just run a little seam down here. You'll also have noticed, obviously we're working completely on the back. We folded the right side of the material in, so none of these seams will show at the end. So now you've got 2 sides sewn, and we've got one side of our pyramid still open. Obviously we're going to fill through there. Now my recommendation is that you sew about half of it. So start about halfway down and sew to the bottom of your pyramid, just so that it's a little bit easier for you to sew up when it's full. It'll hold your rice better for you, and you won't have as much to hand sew together at the end. So once those threads are cut, it's now time to turn your pattern weight the right way out. So you've left a little hole, Now you're going to turn the whole thing out through there. So I hope this is reminding you to make sure you leave your hole big enough to get all the fabric through. There's not a lot of fabric, so it's not too difficult. Get it through and poke your little corners out. You'll see I'm just using my finger. Sometimes I use a chopstick, but today I've just used my finger to poke the corners. And you will see you've now got your pyramid shape. Obviously it's very soft, there's nothing holding it, but you've got your pyramid shape. So the next step is to put your rice in. It's definitely a lot easier if you've got a funnel lying around somewhere. Otherwise you're just going to have to sprinkle your rice in at a grade at a time. At least this way you can put quite a bit in, shake it in, and then go again. And you just keep going until you've got your pattern weight full of rice. So that's up to you. You decide how full you want it. I tend to make mine quite solid because you want that weight when you're holding your pattern down. And that's it. You've got a nice shape there. It's just going to need tidying up. We're going to have to finish up that hole. Now if you want ribbon, now's the time to add that as well. So cut yourself a length of ribbon. Now the one I'm using is 3 inches long, and that gives a nice little loop on the top to pick it up with. Fold your ribbon in half, and then you're going to place it into the weight. For the seam that you've left open, you need to fold those raw edges in so that the seam you've already sewn can be carried on. And then you've got to feed your ribbon in. So you can see how that's going to finish off nicely. So you're going to need a needle and thread, and you're going to ladder stitch or slip stitch your hole closed. Now you'll see I've just popped the ribbon out just to make it easier for me to get started, because I'm putting the ribbon right at the top of the weight. So I'm just closing a little bit more of the hole up. Just be careful to remember to put your ribbon back in before you get too far. So you'll see I just take a little bit of fabric from one side, a little bit of fabric from the other, and just keep repeating that so you pull those two sides together so none of that rice can escape. When you think you're getting close enough to the top, get your ribbon, make sure it's folded, and feed it in through the hole. So now when you're doing your slip stitch, you're going to have to make sure you get through all your layers. So you need to go through the fabric at one side, then go right through your ribbons, both sides of it, through the fabric on the other side, and then back through the fabric on this side. It can be a little bit fiddly, just take your time. If at any time your raw edges are poking out, just poke them back in and make sure you get a nice clean tidy edge. Once you're happy it's all completely sealed up, you're going to just finish off your thread with a little knot and perhaps poke your needle back in through the weight just to make sure it's not going to come undone, and then you can cut the thread off. Now you'll see I've gone back down this side to make sure. I was not happy that that ribbon is completely secure, and if you're not, just go back down and make sure. Check it, make sure you're happy, and then finish off your thread. And that's it. That's all there is to making your pattern weight. So now you've seen how easy it is. You can see how you can make loads of them, and then you can use them widely on all your projects. If you're into making large items, you'll know you need quite a few of these. It's so convenient to use. So that's all there is to it. Simple pattern weight, but looks really pretty, very effective. You can make loads of these, as you'll see I have lots of them. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Enjoy making your pattern weights. Please remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel below.